Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens. Ask me almost anything. My name is Glenn Gers, and I am the Chief Operating Officer and everything of Writing for Screens, which is a channel here on YouTube that tries to teach basic tools, skills, and insights that I have gotten in a 25-year career writing for TV and movies. On my way out of the business, I am trying to leave behind the things that I had to teach myself so that you don't have to. You can try taking these things, trying them out for yourself. There is no right or wrong. They may work for you, they may not. They're just tools. Try them out and see how they work. It's up to you to figure out what works for you, what your goals are, what your situation is. Nobody can tell you what's right for you. You need to figure that out as it's part of being an artist. So, I come here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time zone to talk about various topics for an hour and answer questions. But most of what I have to teach, I have put on this channel in small 10-minute videos. I call them the lesson videos. This is a little screenshot of the channel main page. If you see down at the bottom, there are a couple of playlists. Let me give you a close-up of those. These playlists, which are called Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer, they are where you can find everything I know. Whatever I have to tell you, I have tried to condense down to a topic which is both in the title and the thumbnail. So you can just scan these thumbnails and go, oh, I want to know what he thinks about dialogue or character or genre. It'll be there. It'll be about 10 minutes. I tried to boil it down to stuff that you can try and figure out for yourself using these kind of basic tools and skills and insights. That's what I do, and they are here 24/7 for free for you. Then there's all sorts of live streams talking about lots of topics. If you have the time and the inclination, that's what this is. All right, let me do some hellos. Hello, Donna Nelson and Michael. How are ya? Hello, Ches. Yeah, good to see you. And Burgundy, a lot of old timers. Hello, Deezer, which is the opposite. Welcome, Deezer. Think it's a good time to meet you. Hello, Nathan. Okay, so let's get to the topic at hand. I'm going to do a new thing here, which is I'm going to make clear to you so that we don't get confused. For the time that I'm talking about a specific topic, I'm going to keep this up on the screen so that you know. Just ask questions about that topic until I'm done. Hold the questions on other things, and then I will have a free-for-all, and you can go crazy. Hi, T. Trent. Hello. So let's talk about today's topic, which is, is it okay to use AI to help with writing? All right. So many people have asked me to talk about this over and over. So I'm just going to run down my thoughts on this again here in this format. Hopefully it will help you. I wish I could answer differently, but every time I come to the same answer, which is essentially no. But within reason, and I want to talk about why. And so let me just run through this pretty quickly. And really think it through, because I don't want to just say, this is newfangled stuff, no good. I actually don't believe that. My main question about AI is help you how? And genuinely, please, if you have thoughts on this, if you use AI to help you write, tell me how you do it, because I genuinely can't figure out any way that it can help. Let me list the things that I think people have said they would like to do and the things that I can think of it being helpful for. One would be to come up with character ideas or stories or basic plot lines, things like that. The next thing would be writing your rough draft. I just need to get this rough draft down and then I'll start it. And the other thing would be to tell you if your story is working, to basically judge your story. Hello, Martlotoso. So that's the three ways that I can think of people using it to sort of brainstorming, rough drafting, or analyzing their work. I can't think of a single way that that's a good idea. Let's start with the first reason is really basic. It can't actually do it, okay? This is a quote from an article about AI, ChatGPT. It's talking about the engine by which it works. And it's a machine learning model that has been trained on mountains of text to mimic human conversation by predicting which words would typically come next. So here's the thing. Hi, Brenda. Thank you so much. Yes, Brenda, that I would say that I'm going to get to that. But yeah, as using computers for like spell check and format, of course, absolutely. That's genius. Not a problem. I'm talking about people using a computer program to do creative work. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm saying is the computer isn't actually being creative. What it's doing is simply using a very large database to get an average, a common, a most frequently used. And that's the opposite of creativity. To say, a lot of action movies have car chases, I should have a car chase. That's bad thinking, even if you're not a computer. But that's all, as far as I can tell, the computer can do. It can do it at a very high level, checking a lot of different stuff, but still, all it's doing is looking at everything that exists and using measures to judge worthiness based on usually frequency or stuff like that. That's a bad way to get ideas. That's a bad way to do work. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let's talk about it. Story starters. I said it before. You could tell. Yeah, I'm going to talk more about this in a second. But yeah, I'm not sure that story starting with a prepared someone else's ideas is a good idea. I mean, it's not a bad educational exercise. Just like if you go into a writing class and somebody says, okay, today I want you to do a story about a refrigerator and a tennis ball. Cool challenge, that's fine. And if you feel you need that, but I would suggest that using that is going to steer you off of, most of the time, your ability to do that for yourself, and it's not a great thing to do. Yeah, it can be fun. I mean, there's no reason not to use a prompt, except that it doesn't come from you. So let me talk more about that in a second. Okay, so for this live stream, I had to prepare these notes that I'm reading from right now and talking to you about. In order to do that, I had to think through the order, the meaning, the choice, to make choices, to say, I think I do want to talk about that, I don't want to talk about that, or that really leads to another thing and I don't think that's a good idea. That's what you are looking to me. That's why you're listening to me. I mean, if I was just a computer, I guess I could win your like, as I have. If the computer was really great at it, I suppose it could do it. But the things that are being done here, that's my thinking. And if I were to say, let me have ChatGPT, then it would do a different version based on different values. Now, in theory, I could try to type in my values, but values are a complicated thing. Your what you think is good or bad or important, those are things that are constantly being adjusted as you work. So if you are handing that over to something else, or someone else even, you are essentially taking away the reason that anyone would want your work. That's my main problem here, is that you are looking to art. We look to art. The purpose of art, I would argue the definition of art is that it is the product of an artist's or group of artists, meaning, choices, order, creativity. Taking in tons of stuff just like a computer, sure, but then they're making those choices, and as soon as they don't make those choices, they are hurting the value of the work. Now, I see your questions, by the way. I'm gonna get in there. Hang on. So, Okay, finding the exact verb or term for yes, but that's just a thesaurus. Because we have those in paper form and a computer form, that would be dynamite. I love that. I do not have a problem with that. My problem is when it says, instead of saying the exact verb to say, you'd have to feed in what you want to say. Otherwise, it's just making stuff up for you. But if you say, I want the exact verb for falling down the stairs but not making any noise, okay? Is there one word for that? I don't think so. But it might, like a thesaurus, give you a bunch of words, then you choose one. Cool. Not a problem. A reference material? Cool. All right. So that's the next step isn't it just a tool? And the answer is yes, it is just a tool. And so for things like word processing, spell checking, formatting, dictionary, thesaurus, encyclopedia, sure. Although I hear the encyclopedia qualities of it are not that good. Something that is helping the mechanical process of writing or the work of writing is fine. I'm talking about something that's taking over the invention, the choices. Those are the two things. Invention and choices are the things I believe you can't give over to someone else. Wouldn't you say it's the same as us? So when people say, isn't it the same? I mean, your brain is just running through all the possible story ideas you've collected and saying, oh, it's kind of like this one. Yes, that is true. That is just like us. Why would I want someone else to do that for me? If you're an artist, that's what you're doing. That's like saying, I want to paint a picture. I'm going to tell a software program to paint it, and it's going to paint it for me. You're not really painting it then. That's a big difference from using a painting program in which you are controlling the work. If you're saying like, here's a prompt, take it and do the work, that is not the same. The process of collecting the materials and the passing them through your brain and choosing them, that's what creativity is. So you can't have someone else do that for you, because then it's not the same as it would be. Choosing, the pile of things that you choose from is yours, only yours. Only you will see those things and have those things in your pile the way you do. That's what matters. And also there's a lot of unconscious resonances and meanings to things that you are not rationally choosing. You're going by feeling, by mood, by aspirations, things that you can't pass off to another. This is really, really important. I often use this, okay? This graphic. There is no path. I've talked about this idea. I talk about it a lot for career, but also creatively. Day to day, moment to moment, there is no right or wrong way that you do these things, okay? That's the part of being an artist. Now, this graphic is a picture of an illustration of Dante's Inferno, in which Dante is leaving the world. He's wandered into a dark wood. It's a scary place, and he doesn't know what he's going to do, and he has to find out, and he has to follow the track and figure out his path through this. That's what creativity is. That's the point. I believe that was Gustave Doré, by the way, the artist. Anyway, the point here is that every step you take, every choice you make, every thing that you pull from your unconscious or from your memory or your library of stuff, that is the art. So let me quickly do some quick checks of these comments. Okay, I tried it for organizing notes into a rough draft, and meh. It was altered the prompt, kept doing this to the point that I was basically just organizing it myself. Yeah, exactly. That's Ches has got a point here. Yeah. It can't do the work for you. Now, admittedly, if your hands were broken and you couldn't type and you wanted to have somebody, rough it out for you, and so you dictated into it and said, hey, no, I want more story about so-and-so. It would be harder than just thinking for yourself. Okay. Let me see. David Wright says, I tried using Bard to voice some of my dialogue lines. I asked it to generate a line of my dialogue as Henry Hill in the movie Goodfellas. Just echo back my line. Yeah, no help. Right, yeah. That's the other things I'm going to get to. Is at this point, it's just not very good. But even if it could, suppose it was going to take, like, and this is a great prompt. I have a line of dialogue. Now, first of all, you have to figure out what line of dialogue are you trying to create. If you're just trying to create a line, that line is like, I want to tell somebody I want revenge. Okay, so Murray tells Bill, I want revenge. Please do that in the form of Henry Hill in Goodfellas. The AI then has to figure out what about Henry Hill is the thing that makes him Henry Hill. Right? You've already done that. You did that when you liked Henry Hill in the movie. So you just need to take a second and think, what is it about that I like? Is it the arrogance? Is it the Bronxiness? Whatever it is, then you're already halfway there. There is no value that I can see to not just doing that yourself. Yes, I'm going to talk about this. Some writing programs have assisted story development. I believe that is not good. Hi, Michi. Very nice to see and or meet you. Hello, Jean. I'm just going to take a minute out to do some other hellos. Hi, Kirby Light. Hi, PG Bell from the UK. PG in the UK always makes me think of Woodhouse. I am so glad that you are here. Thank you so much. The thing with AI art can be appealing to non-artists. Yes, and I think that's actually even being harsh. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I use it for my photographs, for instance. Okay. This is good. What if we write the background of the story in ChatGPT and see the possible outcome of the idea? Once again, if you were to suppose when you say the background of the story, I'm assuming you mean the things that start the story, the beginning of the story, and then it figures out you will have. It may be interesting, but it won't be yours. It won't be your art. You will have that would be the same as if you simply thought up the beginning of a story, went to another writer and said, hey, what would you do with this story? And then they do it. Well, that's fine, but that's just writing with a partner. The idea that if you've already come up with the beginning of the story, your job is to come up with possible outcomes. And whichever ones you come out with, that's good. That's your art. It's not like there's a right one or a wrong one. And if there's one that you would never have thought of, I think the argument a lot for using AI is, they'll think of something I would never have thought of. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. Something you would never have thought of shouldn't be your art. That's the main thing. If it's something you would never have thought of, then do something you would think of, because that's why we're having you do your art. So the question then becomes, is this any different than, for instance, there's decks of prompt cards, or there's software, as Michael just said, which has characters and stories sort of pre-programmed into it, and it will give you, possibilities. There's also a lot of books and lectures and videos, which can be really fascinating. I have to say, I spent a long time studying. Michael Arndt did a video, I can't remember the title of it, ARNDT, Michael Arndt, about how to make a great ending, which included totally breaking down, beat by beat, 3 magnificent movies, Little Miss Sunshine, Star Wars, and The Graduate. And he analyzed it, and he said, look at which is what essentially he did what a ChatGPT would do. So this is not necessarily, AI related. It's just, in doing that, he set out certain things which certainly are workable, usable tools, but they don't fit necessarily your story. And if you are to fit his model, then you may have a workable story. You will also have one that's a little less inspired on your part. Now, I am not saying don't use it, and I want to talk about this. There is a value, an educational value, a practice value to studying, to analyzing other material and trying to understand how it works so that you can try your version of that. And I think that is a good thing. So I'm never saying never. if you were using ChatGPT just to try and see some random story ideas, cool. But why not just do what Michael Arndt did and take 3 of the movies you love best and really break them down for yourself and think, what do I like about it most? Because that's more important than what ChatGPT says, because you don't even know why the AI is making the choice it's making. It could simply do it by box office, which is a lovely thing, but as we have seen over and over again, if you simply try to replicate other box office successes, you fail. Anyway, so what I would say is, I can think of 2 valid uses of AI. When I say valid, I'm not, I don't want you to feel scolded if you try using it, but just do be aware that you are giving up a part of your quality of your work, and that's a very important. That's a huge question that I just want to ask you to think, why do that? The valid uses, I think, are: 1, it's essentially a fancy search engine. For instance, if you wanted to say, what are the most common endings of thrillers? Or what is the most tell me different ways romantic comedies can, storylines. Or specific to a style, to say, I want to do something in the style of Italian neorealists. And it can, if it can, I don't actually believe it can do this, but if it could, then sure, it would be not a bad thing. The thing is, you'd probably be better doing this yourself. That the stuff where you take stuff in and you say, this is what I get from this, and it passes through your brain, that's very, very important. You don't want to outsource that. It won't come out the same. And if it won't come out the same, you're damaging your work and your abilities. However, as a fancy search engine, sure. As a thesaurus, as a sort of as a party game, sure. The other thing I think that people might use this for is, people do actually outsource parts of their brain when they write. It's called a writing partner. A human being who you say, I want to have somebody else that I talk to, and they come up with some lines and I come up with some lines, and maybe they're better at story and I'm better at dialogue, and so we work together. That's actually cool. And in theory, if an AI could be a good enough partner, that would be fine. But the truth is, AI is just nowhere near good enough for that. It's not creative, so you would be having a partner who isn't very creative. What you'd have is a partner who's read a lot, who's seen a lot, but doesn't have any judgment. The judgment, where is their judgment coming from? Because they're not going to be creative. That's the thing. To put things together, yes, the monkey typewriter theory, if ChatGPT wrote enough variations on a single line, they would probably run into a good line. I absolutely do not discount that. The ability to put several lines in order and create a character, I believe, is beyond the AI, and at least as far as I understand how AI works, will not be ever good enough to do that, because that requires creativity and limits. And once somebody has programmed those limits in there, that creativity in there, it's just, what's the point of having the computer? The person had to do that. So I honestly think that you have to just watch out for the fact that you're using material that's, you don't know how it is making its choices. You can't ask it. You can't collaborate with it. You can't work with it. It's just feeding you stuff, material, which is fine, but that is essentially, like I said, it's just a fancy search engine. And it's very important that you need to think about what you want to do with that. Let me check some of the, okay. Sorry, wait a second. Let me get to, I skipped Burgundy. Okay. Does AI, yeah. At the moment, I do not believe it does. And more than understand, can it make subtext and symbolism. Because your job here isn't, you're not asking the AI to make a report. You're asking it to come up with something that it never came up with. And this is where Burgundy's on the right track about that. There's emotions, there's feelings, there's ideas, there's artistry, and you are saying, I want this computer to come up with it. In theory, one day, will a computer be so sophisticated that it can be? That famously is the singularity, is the point at which an AI would actually be a living being. And I'm not sure we want that. And if that it existed, I doubt anyone would let you use it for free. And if you did, what would you be worth then? What would be the point of you? As Michael Does says, if you reduce a story to a formula, all you have to do is fill in the blanks. That is true. And much of Hollywood screenwriting how-to books say that. They say do that. They mostly make for bad work. Like I said, I am not just talking about AI here. I'm talking about anything which takes the creative work away from you and says, here is a predetermined list of things that you have to click off in order to make creative work. Okay, let me look at expired yams here. I write an in-depth outline first from a story. Then I tell Chat, yes, I say I want from the story, the theme, the purpose. No, I would say no. I would say it is not okay. I would say it is not yours. Now, is like I said, in collaborations, that happens. In Hollywood, that happens a lot. People take stories away from writers and give it to other writers. And I want to get into that. But the main thing is, in my opinion, this is not a fact, this is not a rule, it's just my opinion. If you do that, you are giving up a large portion of what makes your art valuable, what makes your art worth doing at all. And so I want to talk about why you would do that. I believe you do still need soul. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. AI is great as a cool spell check, a good spell check. Absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? According to some computer theorists, it will eventually, and that's okay. Not really, because the work that Robert McKee did is creative. In other words, what Robert McKee did, and I'm not actually a big fan of Robert McKee, but I will say, what he did was he watched a lot of movies and he thought about it. And he said, what do I think this is? I am choosing meaning. I am choosing this one over that one. And this is the reason. And he actually went through that process and created that theory. It's his creative work. So no, an AI can't do that. Yes. Yeah, I agreed. Absolutely. I wouldn't just say suffer, laughed, loved, compromised. There's so many things that computers don't do. So let me just get to, because the main thing I'm trying to get here is that creative engagement, the act of doing the artwork, is it's everything. And that's why creative control is such a big deal in any of the arts where money is involved, because you usually have to give up some of it. And that's the deal. That's part of the devil's bargain you make to become a professional writer in screenwriting, or you can. It doesn't have to be that way. So the biggest question I want to ask is, why? Why would you do this? What possible advantage would there be to using an AI to help you write? And that's really the thing I want you to ask yourself is, why would you want to do that? If the point is to write better, why would you want to write better than you can write? I mean, in theory, if you're trying to, if you think that somehow there's like some big payoff that being it's like, what if I could be the world's greatest race car driver, and I can have a computer drive the car for me and I'll get the prize money, at which point you're just cheating for money. There's no reason to do that except to get money. There's better, just do that with real estate investments. Don't do it with art. It's a stupid way to do it. What would be the point of being better than you are? First of all, how do you define better? What is the point of saying like this can do something that's is more popular? It has to be your values. You have to think it. If it's funnier than you, if you think that the ChatGPT script is funnier than your script, I'm not sure. That's like saying, yeah, so like fine, have Aaron Sorkin write it for you. I don't understand why you would want something to write better than you for you. So then the question would be, what if you want it because it's faster or easier? And the answer is that's not. That would be like saying I am going to become a pole vaulter, and I can have a mechanical pole that's going to shoot me up over the thing. You're not a pole vaulter then. You're a person who used a mechanical device to mimic the thing that an actual person was doing. What would be the value of that? I don't understand why you would want to do that. Let me just quickly catch up on some of these comments. How would some people know that you? They wouldn't. That is definitely an issue, and a separate question, which just the question of what if you could do it and get away with it and you wanted to? But I'm just going back to the first one of what's the advantage of using it, and if the answer is because I can't think of anything, then you need to first of all realize that you think of more than you think. Everyone thinks of things, but if it is true that you just don't think of stuff, then work within what you've got. If all you are is somebody who thinks in black and white, then just don't do color. Work in black and white. Okay. AI helped me to intensify my second act by suggesting that a person that triggered the protagonist before the first act accidentally encounters the. Like I said, there are certainly going to be things where, just like showing your script to another person, and the person says, if this feels like it comes out of nowhere, could we meet that guy earlier? That's cool. That's legitimate. The problem is we don't know how the AI comes up with these things. So therefore, it seems to me, Lazar, like what you're saying is, it threw out essentially a random suggestion, a suggestion based in just not your values, and it clicked with you. You said, "Oh, that's not a bad idea. Cool. That's great. That is a legitimate thing to do." But then you need to be on high effort to figure out which of the things it suggests are going to come up next. And here's the other thing: the thing that you're saying it did, that should be your job. And so over time, every writer learns that. They learn to think, if I have a character coming in, I should probably introduce them at a certain point earlier to this, et cetera, et cetera. Like that is a thing that a writer will do. If you don't spend the time studying the work that you like and figuring that out, I'm not sure where your art quality is going to come from. You need to have it come from you. Absolutely, I think that's an interesting thing. Is that the AI can work like a good how-to book. For instance, a how-to book would probably have a list of things like when you introduce a character, have them do this, or when you save the cat. And that's not a bad use of compiling stuff. As such, sure, like I said, the two valid uses I can think of for AI would be as a good search engine, as a good how-to book of everything that other people have thought of. It's not necessarily going to be great. What about the production companies? Would they use that's a separate question. The question of, is anyone going to use AI? Sure. Yeah. And that's going to be a problem. I'm saying if a writer is asking me, should I do this? I'm going to say generally, no. AI might, yes, green light, yes. No, this is one of the worst things that can happen, and it is going to happen. They are going to start to use, they have already started to use computers for that. Yeah, the big problem is stories. I do know somebody who worked for a while at Netflix. They were trying to come up with a department to essentially create AI script reading. Not creating scripts, just judging scripts. And they couldn't do it. The department, as far as I know, got closed. Dramatic action. Yeah. But the answer is also when you have consumed enough stories, as AI does, you will begin to notice that something that strengthens characters is often repeated meetings of them. Okay. If you have many ideas, limited time, and new experience, it's extremely useful. It is, and let's talk about this, because I use digital filters when I take photographs, okay? My phone has some cool apps, Hipstamatic, I love, and it will change the photograph and give it some things. I don't want to learn the detailed software that would create that, or let alone the lab techniques. I like the photography tricks, but I don't want to spend the time, and that's fine. The problem is, this gets down to what are you doing this for? If I were to be a professional photographer and I used Hipstamatic to tint and change the color values and the focus of my pictures, that would be at best unprofessional, at worst fraud. Okay. So if it's just a hobby, if you're writing for a hobby and you don't want or can't find the time, but honestly, I still don't understand what the value is. Then it's sort of paint by numbers. There was a fad in the 1950s, a thing called paint by numbers, where they basically figured out areas of color and they set they did little outlines that if you put green number 6 here and then red number 4 in here and you fill it in, you'll get a beautiful, weird painting. That's essentially what you're doing. It's fine. I just wouldn't say I'm a painter. That's what I'm getting at. ChatGPT, if you have many ideas and limited time and no experience, honestly, in my opinion, your job is do the time you can and work with the experience you can and do the ideas you can and try to learn how to do it as best you can. It would be better for the art to be bad and yours than good and a computer generated it. That's just my opinion, but my job here is to talk about what makes somebody a good creative artist. And the answer is, at a certain point, if you're relying on the computer, essentially you'd basically then just be shopping for prompts. Ooh, I'd love to see Batman, fall in love with Wonder Woman. Yeah, fine. And if you want to have something to flesh that out for you, but then putting your name on it or feeling that it's your work is to me insufficient. So let's talk about that. In the professional world, first of all, if you're trying to become a professional writer, AI can only hurt you. Because they need you to be able to, it's like I said, if you want to hire a photographer and they said, great, I mainly just, have the AI decide where to frame my picture, you would say, I don't want you to do that. That's the only reason to do that would be to save money or save time if you're an artist. But you've devalued your professional abilities. And like I said, you would be lying. You would be using, you would be taking credit for something that is not yours. Now, in professional writing, it often happens that essentially an AI called the company or the producer or whoever does this. A recent Marvel movie had 42 writers, okay? They didn't all get credit, But Fracture, which I worked on, had 5 other writers than me. Okay, I was one of 6 writers on Fracture. I was there more than the others, and I was there second and 7th. But as far as I'm concerned, they should get credit. Many of the things in Fracture I did not write, and I do not take credit for them. There's new rules from the Writers Guild that talk about that. Almost all professional writing, you are losing some of your creative independence, and that's fine. But to turn it over to a computer, I don't quite understand the thing. So, what is the value for you if you are not trading that for the money or the position? Why are you making art? That's really the question I want to ask. When you say, I want to make art, but I don't want to do the work, or I don't want it to be mine because mine isn't good enough, that's why are you doing that? Why don't you think your art is good enough? It's your art. The whole point of this art is that it's yours. And it's like if you did ceramics and your ceramics were never round, you just couldn't get the cups to be round, then that's your art. And you need to find a way to love it or get better at it. But you need it to be your art. Think about every choice that happens comes from why you're making it. If you're making it to make money, that's one thing. And then you have to compromise certain things. And in theory, ChatGPT would help you. But generally, the people who would pay you the money, if you're using ChatGPT, why don't they just hire ChatGPT? Don't you understand? You're actually cutting down your own abilities. So I think that you have to ask my personal feeling is, art comes from the choices and the feelings and the beliefs and the desires, from the stuff that is inside only you, okay? Which means that they have to come from you. If you're not great at drawing hands, you're going to create an art style that avoids hands, and that will be your style, and people will either love it or not, but that's who you are. That's the art you make. And in a grand scheme, every little choice that you're making is guided that way. Oh, I don't really like things with happy endings. Oh, I really love the punk aesthetic of the 1970s. Whatever it is, those things unconsciously are steering your choices. Okay. I don't think we need to use to generate ideas, how to build the story. And AI is not helpful in this, okay? It is what is helpful is you studying stories and learning how to do it yourself. If AI is telling you how to do it, that's the equivalent of you getting a book off a shelf by some writer who says, hey, I know how to write scripts. You do this and this and this and this. And honestly, when you do that, it makes for crappier writing. When you do it when you read 50 books and then you synthesize that into your work, is what I'm always saying. I'm saying the rules are tools you use. But if you turn that over to another entity, you are taking away the only thing you actually do as an artist. Okay. Better is able to display what I'm feeling in an effective manner. Sometimes I'm unable to do this. That is being an artist. And I understand how it helps, but I'm telling you, that's essentially training wheels then, at very, very best. Do you know what, I don't know if you know what training wheels are. And training wheels, here in America at least, if you're learning to ride a bicycle, there are these 2 extra wheels you can buy that keep you from tipping over. And so for a while, you have them attached to your bike, and then once you get confident and experienced, you take the training wheels off and you just ride the bike. That's what you're talking about for ChatGPT, but the problem is, if you rely on, and training wheels is actually too nice a way to say this, ChatGPT is doing the work for you. Even if you're tinkering with it or something. So what we're getting here to is you don't think your work is good enough. And one of the most important things to do as an artist is learn that you need to be the artist you are. If you are not an artist whose art looks like Rembrandt, but it looks more like a primitivist Grandma Moses, then do that. Learn who you are. If you are an artist who aspires to be a thing that you cannot do, eventually, as an artist, you need to give that up and find out what you do and do your version of that thing in the way that makes it cool. That's what every single artist in history has done. Every artist has that feeling of, oh, I'm not getting what I see in my head. Every artist. And what makes you an artist is learning how to live with and work with that feeling. Thank you, Adi. That's very nice. This is a big problem, is that like with the photographs, if I take a photograph and then I fool with the filter, yes, it's a tool. To a certain extent, I have given up my right to call that my photograph. It's my photograph using a tool which makes it look like every other photograph that's run through that process. Yes, exactly. AI is basically, to a certain extent, mathematically ranking things and sorting them, and that is only a small part of what a human being does. Yes, AI produces. Yes, absolutely. And what's more, sooner or later it will fall away. Or whatever your 100 best. Okay, AFI is lovely. I agree with some, I don't agree with others. Everybody has their 100 best. You need to find your 100 best, which means you probably have to watch 500, which really is part of being an artist. Okay. What do you think about letting AI read a finished organic written script and make suggestions? Once again, the thing about this that bothers me is I don't know where it is choosing from. Like, what if its suggestion is, I kind of think it should have a tragic ending. Why does it think that? Like, is it doing it because more things made money, or more things were praised, or just more things are available on the internet? Let's remember something really important. There is a vast amount of information that is not on the internet. We have a delusion that everything is on the internet. I have been doing research on painters from the 1930s and 40s. It is amazing how many paintings and biographies of writers and things like that, biographies of painters, are not on the internet in any way, shape, or form. Okay, you have to go to a library and find a physical book. There is a lot of stuff that is not being accessed by AI, and if you experience, plus the actual experience of living in the world. So the answer is, if you wanted to get a sense of what a computer thinks of your work, based on what? Based on, that's what bothers me. Box office? Awards? That's not going to be your taste. I mean, think about all the box office hits that you're like, I don't like that very much. Or all the things that won awards that you're like, I wouldn't have given that an award. The minute that you turn over your work to something that has just scrambled up these statistics and said, I'm going to judge by that, that's really worrisome to me. Okay. That is true, but the learning to do that is more important than having it be easy. Okay, it is something you have to learn to do. Learn how to do it, practice it, try it. First of all, learn that whatever you choose will be fine. Practice that. If you hand that over to a machine, you're going to come up with stuff that doesn't really fit you. Yes, exactly. Essentially, and they do say that that's not going to be true. I will believe it. Okay, I actually would love to see Love Actually set in the 1940s. That would be really cool. All right. If you love it, yeah. Why would you outsource it? Yeah, this is the one that I get. If you hate how you write now, I think a lot of this comes down to truly, why are you making art? That's the main thing that you have to think of, because you're not required to do it. You don't have to make art. You're making it because it's yours, because you want to do it. Okay. Do you think AI is equal to stealing screenplays? Kind of, yeah. First of all, I do believe AI is theft. That is a big one. I do believe that essentially AI does not have the right to take a thing and absorb it and then spit it out to someone else and say, I have the right to do that. I own that. In theory, don't all of us do that? In other words, every choice I make is based on all the movies I've seen in my life. That's true. But I'm a person and it's within my private rights to create. If I were to sit here and do that for other people, I don't know. To me, it does strike me that the internet still has a lot of confusion about ownership. And that's one of the things that we really need to think about, and I do not believe is a settled issue of if it's on the internet, it belongs to everyone and is free and cannot be, legislated or controlled. I really do not believe that is a good idea. Yes, it is. But here's the problem with that. It's a bad mirror. It's not a high quality mirror. It's not like if you collaborate with another person. First of all, if you collaborate with another person who you don't respect, that will take a toll on the work and on your relationship. If you're collaborating with AI, you're collaborating with a very, very mediocre collaborator. That's the big problem. In theory, if it became very, very, very talented and distinct personality, in other words, that your AI was different from someone else's AI, that's possibly a collaborator. But otherwise, it can be, like I said, it can be a really fancy search engine, which would then be mediated by your creativity. Hi, Steve Johnson. Disagreeing with you. Okay, tell me why. You may have, also, if you came late, you may have missed some of my brilliant insights. Writing, being a writer and making money is a very, very narrow subset of writers. But here's the thing. You do that yourself too. And yes, I would say, sure. Like, I know people who will go to a writing group, meet with a bunch of other writers, ask a question, shoot down all the answers, and then it helps them to figure out what they want. That is valuable if you're using AI for that. Yeah, like I said, then it's a very elaborate search engine. And as such, yeah, it's okay. I just would be wary. You don't know where its values are, what it's coming up from things. Hey, Nacho. Yes, we come up with an idea. Should we adjust the character? Yes. Yes, this is the key question is, don't we all essentially pull from things? But my answer would be your version, because you pulled from different things and contain different things, will always be unique to you. And that is the point, the difference between everyone using the big computer one. By the way, what is my live schedule now? I will tell you. Every Wednesday. Last week I was away. I told you the week before, but I didn't announce it. Otherwise, every Wednesday, 1 p.m., I will be live unless, something happens. Thank you. Yeah, and AI can get intelligent. Hi, thank you, Gene. Hey, fatherhood. Yay, I'm glad. That's great. Please do. By the way, everyone, please do. Most of what I'm saying is in here, in essence, my values. You want to know my values? You want to know how I understand things? These videos, in these, the short videos, little 10-minute videos, anytime you want, you can get little slices of what I think to help at least understand where I'm coming from, so that this AI is making sense to you because of my values. Okay. Does it matter about the suggestions here? Yes, it does matter. First of all, it does matter in that AI just so far often makes crappy suggestions, but also it makes unspecific suggestions. Yes, you can theoretically just pull randomly until you get an idea, but that's essentially what you're doing every day, but you're pulling from the things you experienced. And when you pull from the things you experienced, you tilt the answer to your creativity. Can you get more input by asking AI to throw some stuff your way? Yes, but there is a certain point at which there's too much. You actually, no artist in the world needs everything in their head. You don't actually use everything. You can't use everything. The idea that we are that anything is everything, anything should relate to every person on Earth or use every resource on Earth is actually not even possible, let alone human. So the answer is, if you use it like opening the dictionary and poking a random word and going from there, or opening Netflix and randomly hitting something and streaming it, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. That is true. But that once again, I believe that's just a fancy search engine. Yes, absolutely. AI, in theory, could be formatting. The direction, no. Slugline is formatting, yes. Direction, no. The answer to that would be everybody is different. Everybody has a different opinion. Yeah, cool. Why do we know art? Why do we do art? Because Dad's in the film business. Cool. Nice, frankly, for her. That's great. Yes, there are some. Yeah. Honestly, at this point, that's one of the main things here is, in theory, AI could develop to the point which is very sophisticated and does a fairly good job of what it claims to do. Currently, it's just a party game. It's just a cool way to randomize. It's spin art. Okay, do you know what spin art is? Spin art is when you take a piece of paper and you put it on this machine that spins it around real fast, and then you drop paint on it and it splatters in these really cool looking things, but it's not painting. I mean, it's a form of painting using a mechanical tool, but it's very limited. ChatGPT AI for creative work currently is not good enough. Even the visual ones, like I have friends who are spending a lot of time putting prompts into the ones that make pictures and getting these cool artworks, and they are cool, but they're not that great. They're just fun. They're memes. They're not that good. Yeah, depending. It could be. I mean, in theory, you could prompt AI to make the most A24 art film in the world, and that would be okay too. But it still wouldn't be yours. Okay, we're gonna start closing down. Yes, there are also monumentally complex questions of theft and rights and who owns what. If AI comes up with your story, do you have the right to say that's the rest of your story? Is hiring a script doctor, well, only in the sense that you'll know what you're buying, but why would you hire a script doctor? Why would you do that? If you're talking about a script teacher, somebody who's going to teach you, then yeah, but as you've seen from my fabulous, hold on, this video, Screenwriting Rules. The answer would be no one has the right answer. So therefore, when you hire someone, unless you have a lot of money, you're just getting one person's opinion, and you still need to use your opinions. Find one. I mean, okay, this is a good thing. What's the alternative when you don't have a collaborator? The internet is great for that. Go on Reddit or various social media which have groups for writers and say, hey, I'm looking for a collaborator, and then work with. You can do that through Zoom or through email or something. There's an unlimited number of creative collaborations that you can do with human beings now because of the internet. I'm not saying don't use technology. I'm saying don't use technology instead of using your art. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Gonna close it down now. Looking at big studios today, seem to be working off a cookie cutter model. Yes, well, that's actually been true since the beginning of the studios. You know, that's business. That was honestly true in opera, in 1780 or whatever. The problem with any formula is that it's steered towards, in the business, in the studio's case, they're steered towards what will sell the most tickets. And genuinely, if what sells the most tickets are video games, sooner or later they'll just stop making movies. And that will just become a little niche thing like theater is now. Okay. What if you're a struggling writer who writes around stuff, but dude, if AI film creation, what do you mean by film creation? Do you mean like production or writing the scripts? I would say it does not cost any more to write your own work. And if you write your own work, you have the ability to control it in ways that AI can't control. But even so, once again, the struggling writer who writes her own stuff, I don't see how AI helps you financially, unless you're doing a volume business where like you need to write 13 novels a year. So AI is going to do half the work. Yeah, but then honestly, you're just making a writing factory. You're not really, in my opinion, you're making a shop. A little shop that sells writing, which is different from being a writer, in my opinion. No, I don't believe it does. I believe that things would get better with the skill of the person using it, absolutely. However, it's still, just like with the skill of the person using my Hipstamatic photo filters, I can take really good photographs with them. I still have not created those parts of the image. I'm just using it because it's cool and it looks nice. But if I was going to say I am a photographic artist, I would have to learn Photoshop and do each one of those things individually by myself through my creativity. There's a big difference there. Okay, no more questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you don't have people to read your work, whose opinions teach you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Adi has got a good point. The main thing about anything with feedback or importance is you want more than one. Nobody's got the right answer. Okay. I'm working on an AI silent film just now. Work out there. If you mean production, in other words, like you're going to animate a film through AI, whole separate question. Not necessarily a terrible idea. I don't know. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, and right now we're just running into the problem that this is just not that good. Najo, like you can write me privately, like email me about that. But what I'm saying is about writing the material, not making the production from there. Although because that's a separate art form, which I am not qualified to necessarily agree. Yay, I'm glad. Okay. You are welcome. I do indeed, Rock. Thank you. Creating the film depends on what you're doing, but yes, it's essentially a form of animation, and cool. I think it's kind of a neat idea. You'll probably find animators who will think it's not, but I don't know. Cool. That's not a bad. That's an interesting separate question. High school projects by Bida. Okay. Yes. Great. This is the end. Hi, Brandon. I'm all right. I'm just leaving. I've got to return a phone call. But first, I'm going to answer School projects, yes. That is a great question. That is a great ending question. This is the answer. The first three, okay? I will put them in the description of this video in about 15 minutes. So when you come back to this video, look in the description. I will put links to these three, but they are the first three: screenwriting essentials, screenwriting tools, skills, and craft, and the process, being a writer. Basically, those first three, but screenwriting essentials, duh, that's the one. That's it. Yeah, that's all good. All good. I'm going to go now, folks. I appreciate it. No, fair question. I would start with screenwriting essentials and then do the others. Thank you. It'll be here forever. You are welcome. All of you, thank you so much. It is great to be back. It is great to be here. I will see you next Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Go write something.